What would Brady have meant to the 49ers?
Hold on, let me write it down so we get the ticker.
With ticker? Okay. I want to start. You tell me when I could start.
You can start.
Okay. To me, I thought, well, if they got Brady, it would have made it would have been a whole different season for them. But I went yesterday to Safeway in our neighborhood in Oakland, and the guy who's in charge of the meat market, Francis Barry, who is a dear friend of Iggy and me. We've known him forever. Francis. And he really knows sports. So I want to say, we call him the butcher, but it's not Tom Sula. First of all, he's a better butcher.
Way better.
Tom Sula, and probably a better football coach. If you're watching, Francis, we love you.
Yes.
So I said to Francis, it would have made all the difference to the Niners. And Francis, we were over by the chicken parts and the sausages at Safeway. And he goes, not so fast, Lowell, not so fast. He said that offensive line would have got Brady killed, and it's just as well that he didn't go there. Francis, Iggy's going to rebut you, but he loves you and in a very gentle way.
Well, all I want to say with Francis is right on. That's what most 49er fans would say. And I think I get what he's coming from. The Niners had the worst offensive line in the league. They gave up 78 quarterback hits. It was the most. They got 2 quarterbacks hurt. All I'm saying is Tom Brady, you don't think of him as being able to protect himself because he's a statue, but he's been protecting himself his entire career. He got hurt the one time with the knee injury, but since then he's never missed a game to injury. No one moves better in the pocket than Brady, Dad. He's got those. He can always make those 2 little steps that gives him enough space to make the throw. He also is extremely decisive, a concept that Shanahan and Saleh talk about with Garoppolo, meaning he's not. Garoppolo drops back and stands there flat-footed and seems confused. Brady always knows where he needs to go, usually, and he gets that before the snap. The ball comes out quickly, and then finally, his offensive line wasn't that good in Tampa. His right tackle's great. The Niners' left tackle's great. Brady's left tackle is a guy named Donovan Smith, who's worse than Mike McGlinchey. He's really, really bad. And Brady didn't miss a game. He got hit a lot. He took some big hits, but he's a big guy, and he made it through he's never won fewer than 9 games in a season, Dad. He's just a machine. So to just assume that he would come here and miss games, history doesn't suggest that.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Can we agree that the Niners would have been a better team this year with Brady as opposed to Garoppolo and the other guys?
I think we'd have to. I think everyone can agree on that. I mean, Garoppolo isn't even that good, and he couldn't stay healthy. Brady would have been a big, big upgrade.
Okay, so we're going to get to the nut now, to the crux of the issue. There are one of 2 reasons, and we don't know the reasons, but we're speculating that the Niners didn't take Brady. One is a fair reason. They didn't think he'd be much of an upgrade over Garoppolo.
A lot of people felt that. A lot of people felt that.
Wrong, but it's a football decision,
right?
And you can respect that. But we would disagree with it. But Iggy, there's a more sinister reason that we speculate on. Would you say what it is?
Yeah, and it comes back to what I said earlier about Bruce Arians. He said, "Look, I let him coach the team. I bet sometimes." And if people have been watching us for a while, they'll remember that we actually said it made sense that Brady would go to Tampa because a brilliant quarterback like him, who's 43, who's seen everything, wants to run the team like Peyton Manning used to, and an older coach can set his ego aside and say, you know what, my scheme doesn't have to be the star. I don't have to be the star. You be the star. I just want to win a Super Bowl. An older man can do that. A younger man has a tougher time doing that because if he wins while ceding everything to the quarterback, he feels diminished. It's like I have to prove that my scheme works. I have to prove that I am a superstar. And that leads you to saying, gee, Tom, I can't turn the reins over to you because Tom Brady's 2 years older than Kyle Shanahan. Tom Brady wants to run things his own way. And you know what? Tom Brady's way works. So what Bruce Arians said is, you know what? I learn. I watch. Go ahead. That's the way to do it.
Okay. So Iggy, if this theory is cogent, what does it tell us about Kyle Shanahan? One, it tells us 2 things. He's so arrogant. He doesn't want the input from a football genius,
right?
A Hall of Fame quarterback who will be a Hall of Fame quarterback like Tom Brady. But it's the other side of the coin goes with arrogance is insecurity.
Right.
He's insecure to let this great quarterback take over because he might call in a play and Brady will say,
No.
I'm not doing that play. It's
Right.
the wrong play. Or they may be in meetings and he says something and Brady says, you know what?
I don't like that.
I don't like it, and I'll tell you why. Now, I think Arians can handle that. Could Bill Walsh have handled that? Iggy, I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know if he could handle that.
Right.
But clearly, if our second theory is right, and it's just a theory, clearly Shanahan can't handle it. And because of his personality limitations, he had a crummy season because he could have had Tom Brady.
Well, what Arians is saying is that New England couldn't handle it either. What he said is New England didn't let him be himself,
Good.
which is basically like Belichick telling Tom what to do. Belichick telling the 43-year-old greatest quarterback of his era who's seen everything, no, we're going to do it this way. And Arians saying is like, he's the best. I know a lot. He knows more. I'm going to let him do his thing. And it's amazing how many coaches in the NFL would want to compete with Tom Brady. Tom Brady. Why? I mean, people let Peyton Manning have full reign. Now it's Tom Brady's turn, and he's doing a good job.
And I think maybe when Kyle is older, he'll be able to step back a little bit. But he didn't again, this is just a speculation. But he didn't, if we're right, he didn't step back now, and he paid the price.
And again, it's because he didn't want to change his offense that much. He might have not been able to call as many bootlegs. He might have had to turn over play calling duties to his quarterback. He didn't want to do that. Look at a guy like Andy Reid, though. Much older, sees a guy, Patrick Mahomes, who teams are passing in the draft because he played in a spread system in college. Kyle didn't want him. Kyle has an old school under center offense, and I guess he felt Mahomes wouldn't fit it. Well, Andy Reid, he has a West Coast offense background. He saw that guy and was like, okay, well, we'll just run what he knows. We'll go spread. It'll work. And he was right. He adjusted his offense to fit this kid, and he won a Super Bowl. So that's what you have to do.
My final word on Shanahan and Brady is Shanahan wanted to be the star, and he didn't want Brady to be the star.
So what you got was 6-10.
Yeah, 6-10 and 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, you could have been 11-5 in the NFC Championship game. You wouldn't have been the star. You would have had to actually take a back seat, a supporting actor role to your quarterback. But now you're in year 5, coming off your 3rd losing season in 4 years, and you're still trying to find a quarterback that you can take credit for. Good luck.
I want to say one other thing, and this is partly about how much I love to do this stuff with you, Iggy. We're talking about football, but also we're talking about personalities.
Yes.
How personalities affect the game.
Right.
So we're at a much deeper level than, is it a good right tackle? You know what I mean?
A lot of sports writers and fans don't want to go to that level. They just want to say, how dare you project those things onto Kyle Shanahan, and he must have had his football reasons, and he would never let something like that happen. These things happen every day in the NFL.
Oh, every day.
Every day. It's all about egos and insecurity. And I guess some guys either have been in the league long enough and feel like they're secure enough that they can take a back seat. And other guys on the way up feel they just can't. I can't take a back seat. It'll make me somehow be, I don't know what the word is. Obsolete.
Or diminished.
Diminished, yeah.
And the goal is to win the Super Bowl, not to be the superstar.
Right. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's lost 2 Super Bowls because he needed to be the superstar. He couldn't just run the ball out in the second half and win the game.
Right.
He needed to keep going for it and run the score up and call passes. Well, Bruce Arians hasn't won a Super Bowl either, but he's got a chance this year, and Kyle doesn't. And as long as he's got Jimmy Garoppolo making all this money and he doesn't decide what he wants to do it, they don't even have their quarterback, Dad. They're a ways away. Too bad Tom Brady isn't a free agent. They could have used him. Don't get Drew Brees, though.